October 4th, using radical rules. Rule number 2. Portions of a root can be factored out. If you can factor out a perfect square, numbers like 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, etc., you can simplify what you take out. For example, if we break down the square root of 24, we can convert this into its factors, 4 and 6. 4 is a perfect square. So if we split this into the square root of 4 and the square root of 6, the square root of 4 becomes plus or minus 2, and the square root of 6 cannot be simplified. Simplify each root. It may help to remove a perfect square from it and simplifying. Here's a list of all the perfect squares 1 through 10. One approach for the number 12 is that we consider what's the largest number that is still less than 12, and that's 9. Does 9 multiply into 12? No. How about the next one? 4. Does 4 multiply into 12? It does. So we can split this into the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. And the square root of 4 is a perfect square. So this becomes plus or minus 2 root 3. Let's try the same thing for the square root of 18. The largest number that is still less than 18 would be 16. Does 16 multiply into 18? Nope. How about a 9? Yes, so we can change this to the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. And we know that 9 is a perfect square, so this becomes plus or minus 3 root 2. Next up, the square root of 48. So 36 does not divide evenly into 48, neither does 25, but 16 does, and this becomes the square root of 16 times the square root of 3, or plus or minus 4 root 3. Next up, the square root of 8. 4 does divide into 8, or multiply into 8, so we change this to the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. And we can simplify the square root of 4, and we get plus or minus 2 times the square root of 2. Try some of these next ones on your own. Rule number 3. You can also separate roots from the top and bottom of a fraction. The same stuff applies. For example, if we start with the square root of 9/6, we can convert this to the square root of 9 divided by the square root of 6. And we can simplify the square root of 9 and get 3. So the square root of 36/12 becomes the square root of 36 divided by the square root of 12, or 6 over root 12, because we can't simplify the square root of 12. Here this becomes root 81 over root 16, or 9 over 4. Try some of these other problems on your own.